Hey guys, Susan Edwards of Ford's Career Services here. And today I want to talk about phone interviews, and I want to give you some tips for crushing your next phone interview. These days, especially with the pandemic in 2020, we are seeing a lot of recruiters and hiring managers and interviewers really change the way they do things. And what that means is a lot of employers are having to do things virtually. So part of doing things virtually is hiring people virtually, which means they're going to have to do some sort of communicating with candidates prior to seeing them face to face. And so today this really focuses on phone interviews and really kind of that very first step. So my first tip I want to share with you today is to do your homework, to take a look at their company webpage, of course, but don't stop there. Take a look and see what their social media footprint really looks like. Do they have a company profile on LinkedIn? Do they have former employee reviews on Glassdoor? Do they have a Facebook page? Do they have a Twitter account? Do they have an Instagram account? And if you want to really learn more about the culture of the company that you are about to interview with, that's a great way to learn a lot and really impress the interviewers by knowing just a little bit more about their company than the basics that are on their main web page. The second tip I want to give you for your next phone interview is find a quiet place. Starbucks, middle of the day is probably not the best idea. I would really say find a quiet room. But for phone interviews, you really want to make sure that the space is quiet because you can hear background noise. So just make sure that you're aware of that. If you have a circumstance that you can't really reduce the amount of background noise, what you would want to do anytime you are not speaking is to make sure to mute your line. So that way the person that is speaking doesn't hear all the background noise that you have behind you. The third tip I want to share with you today is to have a copy of your resume. Make sure that you have a copy of your resume right in front of you. Keep it in your hands. Keep it laid down on the table in front of you. So that way you can refer to it. If there's something that may not be on your resume, but you want to make sure to mention, then you want to make a note on your resume. Write that down. Make sure to jot it down because you can speak to that during the phone interview if it's not actually on your resume. But you definitely want to make sure that if you get asked about specific dates or anything like that, you've really got the clarity from the piece of paper that's right in front of you, right from your resume. If possible, make sure to turn off any call waiting or anything like that. If you have access to a landline, I would recommend you use a landline versus a cell phone, only because you have less risk with being disconnected or losing the call or the call being dropped by the phone carrier or something like that. So it's always safer to go with a landline if you have that as a possibility for you, if you have access to a landline. So tip number 4 is to speak professionally. And you always want to use positive language whenever you refer to past employers, even if your past employment ended on a negative note. You always want to try to rephrase the question of why did you leave your previous employer? You want to make sure that you learned something from every experience that you have had. And so I encourage you to always speak professionally. If you had a disagreement or a fallout with your previous boss or a previous coworker, you don't want to bring that up in the interview. You want to speak professionally and use professional language. My final tip for crushing your next phone interview is to show enthusiasm. Always smile when you're on the phone because the octaves in your voice actually lift if you have a smile on your face, and it actually changes the tone of your voice. And the person that's receiving your message can hear that, and they can hear enthusiasm when you're talking. So try to smile and always be enthusiastic when you're on phone interviews. That is so important, because you want the interviewer or the hiring manager to know that you're excited about the opportunity and to hear that in your voice. So I hope you have enjoyed these tips today, and I wish you the best of luck in your next job interview, your next phone interview. And if you'd like to hear more tips, be sure to check me out on my Facebook page at Forwards Career Services, or you can check me out online at forwardscareerservices.com.